Of how thick the cloud cover is and how dense those clouds are, and dark, just doom and gloom out here, and it's no different on the streets, unfortunately.
Pauline, from our perspective, it looks like much of downtown, some of these streets completely covered in water, yet we're seeing traffic. Any indication? I mean, I would hope those are emergency vehicles, but I doubt it.
No.
Where are these people finding a way through the city?
You know what, I think because there's a limited number of emergency services available, and because they are trying to deal with some of the bigger issues, they're not able to block all of the little side streets. We're flying over downtown right now, and I can see some people are using just those tiny little routes that aren't normally used so that they can maneuver their way in and out of downtown. But as you can see, as we fly over the East Village, it's completely submerged in water. It is not safe to be on the roads right now. It is not smart to put your vehicle through all this mucky water that has debris floating in it from how fast the river has been flowing. It's just, you really, really need to stay home, and we're just not seeing that right now, which is really unfortunate.
Pauline, I'm not sure if you can, but if you could give us kind of a zoom in back towards the East Village. There is a construction site there. They're building high-rise condominiums, and so they have dug way, way down deep to build the foundation. You can see a crane there. That is a huge pit. Most of the time, that goes down several stories, and it is filled with water.
Yep.
It's nearing the top. Simply a huge pit of water. There she is zooming in for us. That's a construction site, and the water just keeps pouring in. It's amazing.
And it's dirty, fast-moving water.
Full of debris. We don't know
yeah, you don't even
there.
know what's floating in there, right?
No.
That's a really good point, Amber. And that gives added power to the power of the water. It can take even more stuff out as it rushes through if you've got trees and logs and rocks. And
Well, Jordan was mentioning that earlier. When you looked at some of the shots downtown, you could see from Pauline's shot the currents and the swirling that's going on, but you're saying down on the ground you don't really recognize that, and water that may only be not even up to your knee, you think, oh, fun and games, I can make my way through here to check out the action, but that can be really dangerous.
It's all the force behind it, right? There's all that water behind it working together as one unit to really create a kind of a hydraulic system that has the force to push cars that weigh well into the 3-4 ton weight class. So it has power. Water has amazing power to do that. So yeah, don't try and cross roads that are covered in water. And as Pauline mentioned, I mean, sure, there are people that may have found themselves down there in an hour, like, okay, I got to get out of town, and that's the idea. But for those watching, don't go down, don't be curious. Anywhere where this is, you do head in, and you don't know how water is going to act and react, and suddenly you might be trying to maneuver yourself through some of those side streets and everything's blocked off and you're surrounded by water. It's not a great idea.
You were talking before too, Jordan, about flash flooding. Not so much here in the city, but in rural areas. That is a real cause for concern as well. We've seen emergency alerts go out from the province as well, warning people about that. Give us the perspective there, because this is a very dangerous problem.
Right. You know where to expect river runoff, right? There's the river system, and then it floods, peaks its banks, and we've got the overflow like we have in many areas. Then you start to get, especially with the downpours in the foothills now, water reacts and finds the least area of resistance to flow and to run. And now that there's resistance where water is flowing and flooding, it's finding new paths, places you wouldn't expect to see runoff. Places where water will work uphill to then flow downhill actually tends to be of less resistance. So that's where the flash flooding occurs. We have a lot of areas around the province that would be prone to flash flooding, especially with the saturation we're seeing from what we had was the late May above average rainfall, June, which was pretty average so far until now. Now we've exceeded it, but just that amount of rainfall earlier this spring has everything's run off.
perfect storm situations.
Yes.
Without getting a perfect storm.
No.
It's interesting. We're getting some tweets and emails, people wanting to have specific questions for our meteorologists and for Leslie in terms of traffic, asking which roads are closed and how far is say Glenmore closed, and at this point really it doesn't matter.
No, no.
There's no point if one of the main roadways is open partially. There's no point in getting out there. I mean, like Jordan mentioned, if you're out there and you got to get home, you got to do what you got to do the safest way possible. But at this point, it doesn't matter which roads are open partially.
No, it doesn't. And this really, I think, will let the tale sink in. These shots from Global One up there will really tell you that where you're going. what are you doing? It's just not that important. Only emergency travel. Otherwise, you need to stay far away from anywhere to do with the river. Stay home. Even if you don't live anywhere near water, stay home. Keep those emergency, or keep the roads clear for emergency responders. They've got the job here. They've got the tough job. They're trying to evacuate people. They're trying to keep them off the roads. They're trying to get the people that need to get to hospital. So the rest of us really need to just stay off the roads and stay out of trouble.
Pauline's continuing to show us images from Global One, kind of taking us on a field trip, if you will, up the Elbow River. And we're looking at so much property damage. It is extensive. This is presumably a home, perhaps a golf course. It is a golf course. Pauline is back with us. Pauline, give us a glimpse of what you're seeing.
Well, we're flying down the river right now, making our way towards the Glenmore Reservoir, just over it, and the damage is definitely extensive and just devastating. The power of this water is incredible. We've seen it knock out trees. We've seen it take small buildings with it, vehicles completely submerged. There's just so much water everywhere. So yes, stay home and let us be up here in Global One to give you shots. We'll show you everything that you want to see from the comfort and safety of your home.
That's for well, sure. You get to put up with the wind and the rain, Pauline, but we appreciate what you guys are going through. And I know that is a piece of flying that your pilot is doing for us this morning, flying in these really difficult conditions. Take a look at that. Hey, wow, talk about angry water.
This is the Glenmore Reservoir that you're looking at. And earlier from Jamie, we had heard that they were going to release water from the Kananaskis Dam as well as the Ghost Dam further upstream on the Bow River. This is the Elbow River, and just the fury of the water and the force of the water. We saw images from Lethbridge where there too they released water upstream of the Old Man Dam, and the impact of the water coming through the dam was just incredible. It's such force. Mother Nature has such force, and it's unfortunate that we are seeing it to the extent that we are. And
we live with these rivers, and we appreciate them, and we say, look, you know, lovely, we love to live beside the Bow and the Elbow rivers, and this is one of those situations where the river, this is what happens. This is the reality of the situation, is the force of Mother Nature.
I'll say this, living in Manitoba for 8 years, this was expected every year. Now, we know this is well beyond what we would ever see here. This is, well, I'm working on the data to figure out exactly what type of 1 in 100, 1 in 500 year flood this is. I've been through floods in Manitoba, forecasting, watching it unfold slowly and expectedly with where you would in farm fields in a floodplain. Right. This is unbelievable, the scene we're seeing here with this type of force just from rainfall. You have to think in the prairies how great it is that it's ice damming and collection of snow over many months to melt. This is saturation over a few weeks of rainfall.
And we've heard people make reference to the flood of 2005, which of course caused extensive damage in the city of Calgary and other areas right across southern Alberta. It was a really dire picture. I believe it was back in 1995. They called that the flood of the century in southern Alberta. And they're saying that water levels now on many waterways are just as bad.
Sioux Bridge, I think, right there, right?
Yeah, to St. George's Island there.
We've been getting a lot of phone calls, emails, messages on Twitter about a few things that sort of reoccurring themes. The major one is people want to know what they can do and how they can help out. And again, Leslie was talking about it. Gord Gillies ran in here as well, saying,
stay home.
Stay home.
Yep. That's how you can help.
There's no point getting out there today.
That is active helping.
You got it.
Yes.
If you have a lot of more questions, if you want to get more engaged, you can go to our website, globalnews.ca/Calgary. We have a live blog going there, and we have people working in the newsroom right now. We'll take your questions and help guide you in any way we can. Also,